Good morning. Today I'd like to read a poem because I've been going through things and maybe this can resonate for you as something that speaks to you as well. It's by the American poet Elizabeth Bishop, One Art. The art of losing isn't hard to master. So many things seem filled with the intent to be lost. Their loss is no disaster. Lose something every day. Accept the fluster of lost door keys, the hour badly spent. The art of losing isn't hard to master. Then practice losing farther, losing faster, places and names and where it was you meant to travel. None of these will bring disaster. I lost my mother's watch, and look, my lost or next to last of 3 houses went. The art of losing isn't hard to master. I lost 2 cities, lovely ones and vaster. Some realms I owned, 2 rivers, a continent. I miss them, but it wasn't a disaster. Even losing you, the joking voice, a gesture I love. I shan't have lied. It's evident. The art of losing's not too hard to master, though it may look like, write it, like a disaster. So, I've had quite a traumatizing experience, having thought, oh, I'm going to work on a therapy farm. It just made so much sense to me. I studied psychology. I've loved animals all my life, and I've always wanted to help people. I've worked with special needs kids. Made sense. There's this nonprofit, Alut. They need people. I have a master's degree in education. I'm a very dedicated, serious person. I got a notebook. They told me you have to come for observations. Okay. And then I didn't realize, I didn't look at my phone. He said, oh, come tomorrow. And then when I came, I made a mistake. I didn't look at the phone and I came anyway yesterday thinking it's my first day of work. And I came there and I'm like, hi, and I'm just talking. And then he said, no, it's not good today. Come tomorrow. And then I'm on my way home and I received the following message. No, it's not going to work out. Don't come. Don't come at all. And I thought about it, like, why? And then I realized there was a woman who worked in a place that I worked at where I get yelled at. It was a hostel for people that have autism. And the boss there was like sending people to listen to my conversations with the people with autism. Like they would say to me, they would complain to me and I would support them and say, well, that's not okay. Or yeah. And she didn't like that. So one time there was this guy, his father is a famous doctor. And he said, I really don't like the boss. She doesn't really listen to me. And I said, well, tell your father if anything bothers you. Because, he's a person that, he needs, he's not independent. All his decisions are made by a guardian. So I said, talk to your father. So this woman goes, all of a sudden she leaves. And then I get a phone call and she says, go home, go home. This woman is half my age, doesn't have children, doesn't spend time with the hostel with the people, hardly any time at all. Yelled at me already at least 2 times. I took so much because I love those people. And I saw them all the time down the street because I live next to it, this hostel. And it breaks my heart because they say, why don't you work here anymore? Why don't you work here anymore? And I can't tell them. What am I supposed to do? Tell them people are assholes? People are not nice. They don't appreciate when somebody has a big soul and they're different. People don't appreciate people that are non-conformist and don't think. Like, I don't identify with systems. I don't identify with people that come into work with kids or people with disabilities in order to crush them, in order to have power over them and tell them no. Like they enjoy saying no to them. And it's called giving limits, but it's not really. It's crushing them. And not really caring about them. I really love those people. Every time I see them, it just felt to me like a family. I spend a month with them every day, hours and hours, cooking for them, singing with them, doing yoga with them. there was one woman who used to hit her head against the wall, and then I found out she likes to do arts and crafts. And then the boss was, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. You should be working with everybody. Yes, but she's the most difficult one. She has schizophrenia, and she smashes her head against the wall and screams. And when she does artwork, she's quiet. It's called art therapy. And I was doing a pillow with her, and she loved it, and she was sleeping with it, and she was so full of joy. But this woman, she was like Cruella de Vil. She was like, no, you shouldn't be working with her, because, you know, they have all this structure and what you should do, and they're so inflexible. And then I realized they're not creative people. They're very, very rigid people. And when I lost that job, I was devastated, but I picked myself up and I got to work at a school. Unfortunately, the school was really far, and I didn't realize that it would be full of violence from the principal who would scream. I can't take a place that screams. Why would you scream at a child? Why would you scream? Is this educational? Why did I become a teacher? Okay, she was a math teacher from Moscow, and maybe that's how you do things in Russia. You just scream and belittle kids. But I studied in Boston, like where Elizabeth Bishop comes from, New England. It's all about humanity and liberal education. I mean, they're also very conservative there, but there's a side that's very liberal and very, you know, embracing the child and empowering. And my degree was in education that is humanistic and empowers children. And then I come to a school where it's like 100 years ago, they're just screaming at the kids. And there was this boy, and they you know, he just said, oh, I'm so scared of the principal. Please don't take away my phone, because they're not allowed to have phones. And I felt horrible. I felt this is not why I studied education. And I became part of the system to just scare the kids instead of, who cares if he looks at the phone? Who cares? Who cares? You know, of course they have to have limits, but, you know, if he doesn't want to study, he doesn't want to study, you know? What's the difference between looking at a phone and, yeah. I mean, on one hand, I think there should be limits. On the other hand, I think children should have the right to decide if they don't want to study. They could just sit as long as they don't disturb other kids, as long as they're not making noise. That's what I say, you have to have limits. But then you could do it in a gentle way. I try to do music. You know, I just feel I betrayed all the values that I have. I didn't grow up in a humanistic family. I didn't grow up in a place that empowers you. I grew up in a place that's how my mother talked to me. When I was a child, she would scream at me and threaten me that the police will come and take me away and things like that. And this is how I went to sleep. Go to sleep, I'll call the police, or I'll take you away and I'll put you in a children's village and orphanage and all kinds of threats that you shouldn't go to sleep with. So I thought education was the best thing I've ever seen. If you can educate children to love studying and to enjoy creativity and to self-growth, you don't need therapy to fix it afterwards, I thought. I was so idealistic, and then I come into school system where kids are crushed. And then there's the other extreme afterwards, where kids can do whatever they want, throw things at the teacher, scream and yell, and they don't get any limits. And that's where I say that's also another extreme. And they just give them computers, and during the break they just sit by the computer and play computer games all the time, and they don't get enough exercise. And I used to start the day with yoga and exercise, and I even gave them Zumba, and we dance in English and learn some English songs. And unfortunately, the breaking point was not getting paid, getting a measly salary and thinking, I'm sorry, that's not what, I didn't study to get less than minimum wage. And then I didn't get it even. I didn't get it. I had to fight 1 month and a half, and I didn't get the salary. This is the Board of Education. I've always had problems getting my paid, and, you know, I want to do good, but nobody appreciates it. And I feel so sad because I really I really did so much in order to grow as a person, in order to bring good things. And even as a mother, I feel like I failed so many times. I wanted to be the best mom, and maybe I wasn't. And then I had like a sort of breakdown at one point, and I tried so much to make up for it. And sadly, my ex-husband ended up, having the boys when they were teenagers in such crucial age. I'm just letting them do whatever they want. And I lost my kids basically. And I could only have them on vacations when I took them to see Jewish places, and I try to get them to get in touch with the Jewish part of the soul, and I don't know, I just thought that was the right way, and I'm not sure anymore what is the right way anymore. And we live far away. I don't see them. Basically, I don't have any kids. I wake up every day and I say, why don't I see my children? And I see people with children, and I think how horrible it was to lose my children, especially because they're such wonderful people, and I invested so much love in them even before they were born, and I wanted so much for them to have the best of everything. I took them to museums and parks, and I got them a dog, and I took them to music concerts, and I went to music festivals with them, and it was just, at one point I couldn't afford to live anymore in Europe, so I moved back to Israel where I had a place to live rent-free, and then I thought I would go back to education, and it's just, I have a master's degree, and then I just can't get a job. Because I'm either too old, too strange, too not fitting in the system. And I wanted to work as something I could have done when I was a student, madricha. Like, I would just have to, work with people with autism. You don't even have to have an academic degree. You don't need to know anything. And I'm such a caring and loving person, and I love animals and I love people. Just to be rejected from that job, it just really broke me yesterday. I just thought, I saw my future, taking care of these people, and just sharing experiences in nature, teaching them how to handle an animal, and just making music with them like I did before in another place, singing with them, and just doing things to make them life much more bearable, because their life is very difficult. I'm crying, but I don't have to deal with what they have to deal with. Being strange and being dependent on other people for everything. And I just really wanted to give. At the end, I just got a door slammed in my face and rejected. And just, all my education, it just means nothing to these people. It means nothing to them. I really put my heart and soul in my studies, trying to become a person that makes the world a better place. And then I realized I just don't go to the right places. And maybe it's good I lost that opportunity, because it wasn't really an opportunity, but it was another place that would judge me and just put me in a little box and reject all my attempts to do creative things. And it's just not the right place for me. And maybe I'm just not a person that can work well within a system. And it was really hard to lose that job opportunity, especially since it would have meant a little bit financial security at a time when we live in a war, and and I haven't been working since I quit the Board of Education, and I don't know, and this country doesn't support me in any way financially or otherwise. And I realized I'm so much stronger than what I think. I'm taking care of this dog. She has epilepsy, and I'm making sure she doesn't get seizures. I really take good care of my animals. And I took good care of my children. I watched them, and I took them to every activity they could have, just so they can become happy people. And not like me. My mother never took me anywhere. I just had one time a theater camp in the US. That was my one time I did something. It's the only activity I've ever done in my whole fucking childhood. She took me to a theater camp, and then I didn't get the leading role. They gave me a small role because they said I couldn't sing. And it wasn't a great camp, but it was the only time I've ever gone to summer camp in my entire life, except there was this Tel Aviv day camp that was horrible, that you just sat around and they commanded you like a soldier. It was more like daycare. But I never went. I never got anything. I only got piano lessons after I begged my parents. I actually wanted to play the violin, but they said, no, we have a piano. You take piano lessons with an abusive old lady who used to hit my fingers when I hit the wrong notes. So I had abuse for from the age of 13 till when I went to the army at 18. I got abused by this piano teacher, hitting my fingers and screaming at me, and her husband at the same time. This nervous, crazy old lady, Romanian lady. That's what I got. I never really had a happy childhood, Like when we lived in the US, we went to Walt Disney and we went to places. It's not like I had a miserable childhood, but all the kids went to dance lessons, music lessons. And my mother, she was just too busy working, making money, and she just couldn't be bothered to pay for things. She wanted to buy furniture, and, at the time Israel didn't have, you couldn't buy stuff here. So she bought all these appliances, American appliances. And that was more important for her than for me to have dance lessons or music lessons or whatever. So I only got music lessons in Israel with this old lady who charged really nothing because she was so happy she could still work. She would just hit my fingers. Why would you do that to a child? Why would you hit my fingers? And on the other hand, she would say, oh, you're so beautiful and you look like Botticelli and blah, blah, blah. And it was so weird for me to, the one hand, she would expose me to culture. On the other hand, she would hit my fingers. And my whole family, I realized, was so abusive. They were so nasty. They were so not loving, except my grandparents who were religious. And when they died, there was this big dispute with inheritance, and then I have no contact with any members of my family. Even after they survived the Holocaust, they just don't care about anything except money. Even though you would think after the Holocaust, you would think that people would realize that money means nothing. Jews lost everything they had. My grandfather had a huge lumber mill, and he lost his big house in Europe, everything. And he was happy he could come to Israel, then called Palestine, British Mandate, sorry. It's not Palestine like you think. And I used to love this country, and I thought it was my country, my culture, but now I don't feel the people love me. This guy who makes coffee was lovely, and he just makes my day. And there's people I meet in the street, but for the most part, I don't have nice experiences in this country that I should. I'm a good person, and I shouldn't have no friends after I've been to the army and university, and then I have somebody who studied at the university with me, and she doesn't even look at me. She doesn't talk to me because she's a psychoanalyst, and I'm just a BA psychology person, a master's in education, and no career and nothing. She looks down at me. Or maybe she doesn't give a shit because she's so focused on her life. And I just feel so alienated that at one point I think it's too much for me. Also the war. I'm a very sensitive person. I diagnosed myself. And everything affects me. And living in a war zone for a very sensitive person is too much. Ignoring the fact that we live in a place that has so much violence, it's hard. It's hard knowing people are losing their lives, so I can sit here and record this monologue. That there are people that are 19 and 20-year-old and they're dying, so I could sit here on my butt and talk to the world. It breaks my heart. Terrorists choose to be terrorists. I don't know why, and I don't know how to change it, because there's no way you can change other people. You can only change yourself, but it breaks my heart that there's so much evil in this world, that there are people who just want to destroy other people. I can't even kill a cockroach, Yesterday I saw a cockroach, and he just wanted to live, and I'm like, what right do I have to kill him? What right do I have to kill anyone? What right does anybody have to kill anyone? But then, if the cockroach was threatening my life, as the terrorists are threatening our existence, then I would have no choice. And people don't get that. People don't get how hard it is for people that weren't brought up to kill other people. You know, I wasn't brought up to kill and hate. Yeah, I had an abusive childhood, but nobody told me, hate the Arabs. On the contrary, my father spoke Arabic and he loved the culture and everything. And then today I said good morning to an Arab, and Shiva loves Arabic. She went up to these Arab people and, you know, I said she comes from a Bedouin village, and the guy said, me too. And what I want to say is that I'm finding it really hard to survive here. I'm on my own. I have no family. I have no hope of rekindling any relationship I've ever had with friends or family. It's over. It's over. It's just over. Just like John Lennon, the dream is over. You know, I used to have a brother and a sister I thought were my friends. They weren't my best friends because they used to hit me when I was a child, but I thought with my sister I could have some communication. Then all she wants is to steal my mother's stuff and disconnect from me. And I don't understand why. I helped her with her kids. I was a good sister, even though I'm 10 years younger. I listened to her boyfriend problems. And then, you know, I just can't trust her. She lies. She says she loves me and she doesn't. Same thing with my brother. He's like, just cheated me out of things. And then I realized it's a blessing. I'm not a businesswoman. I can't handle stuff. I used to write poetry. I used to paint. And maybe I need to go back to that part of my life, to be a creative person, to be an artist again. Artists don't need to go to jobs where they're crushed. And I would have been crushed at that place. It sounds beautiful, therapy form. But what is it really? What is it really? It's just these people forcing people that have an unusual brain to do things, to bake cookies and to become like normal people. Who wants to be like normal people anyway? Society is so threatened by people that are different. So threatened by anyone who's a little bit off the, like, you know, a little bit different. Well, you know what? I love my dog and I hope I'll never lose her. I never want to lose you. She's always challenging me by running away from me. And you know, I'm so happy I could cry now because I really needed to let it out. We think we own things, but we don't. We don't own anything. We come into this world with nothing and we leave with nothing. And the only thing we have is our experiences. And I don't want to have any more negative and painful experience than I can handle. I don't want to have people hurting me and yelling at me and abusing me anymore. I want to live in a peaceful place where people don't fight each other. So I'm going to try to get out of here. I don't know how. I feel like I'm in a cage here and I need to get out of here because I don't think I can take it anymore. I don't think I can take another war. I don't think I can run to bomb shelters anymore. I think Israel has a right to exist, but I can't handle it. I'm not tough. I didn't live my whole life in Israel. In fact, half my life I lived abroad. It's too much for me. I'm not tough. I can't handle rejections. I can't handle losses. I can't handle the thought of young men dying so I can enjoy a coffee in the morning and not have to run to bomb shelters. It's too much for me. The sacrifice that's demanded in order to be Israel, it's too much for me. It doesn't mean that Israel doesn't have a right to exist, but I think I have a right to exist somewhere else because I've had it. I need to be somewhere where I'm not constantly threatened by terrorists. I don't know if there's a place on earth like that. I need to be in a place where my dog is respected. And she is for the most part, except the lifeguard who yells at me. I need to be somewhere where I don't always feel like I have to beg for crumbs. I need to be somewhere where I can just be a human being and not a Jew, Israeli woman, whatever fuck label they give me. I just want to be a soul traveling through eternity, an eternal soul. I don't want to be labeled by this physical entity and by my ethnic origin and my DNA. It doesn't matter what I am. It doesn't matter where I come from. It matters where I'm going to. And I want to go to a place where people aren't labeled, where people aren't judged, where people aren't abused, where people aren't taken advantage of, where people don't have to be grateful that young men are dying as we speak, being shot by terrorists, so that I could live and talk and have a coffee. That's not okay. The guilt I feel is too much for me to bear, and now it's done. I'm going to try to get out of here, and I don't care what people think of me anymore. I just don't care anymore. I don't care what people think of me. I don't care the judgments that I face every single day being me, being a different, unique person. I am done.